Monthly, Sandoval Board of Directors Meeting.
This live stream of the February 2021 meeting is simulcast on Sandoval's official communications Facebook page, Sandoval Cape Coral, and also on Sandoval Neighbors Synergy. Alternate viewing of this meeting is also available for your convenience 24/7 on our YouTube channel, Sandoval Video Box, and on Sandoval's website, www.livesandoval.com. Consider subscribing to support Sandoval Video Box on YouTube by clicking both the subscribe button and bell to be notified of future meetings and presentations by Sandoval Communications. The meeting will begin shortly. Sandoval Communications thanks you for your support and participation by watching this meeting.
Good evening. The February Board of Directors meeting is now called to order at 6 p.m. today, Thursday, February 25th, 2021. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call. Vice President Ron Spooner.
Here in person.
Treasurer Bill Tubb.
Here.
Director Scott DeFilippis. He's not here. Director Melanie Palmer. Here. Thank you. Director Al Roper.
Here.
Okay. And Director Don Wells.
Here.
Thank you. And for management today, we're joined by our General Manager, Casey Pinella. So quorum is established. And Casey, can you confirm proof of notice, please?
Yes, proof of notice.
All right. And were there any residents' comments on tonight's agenda topics?
We did. We had 3. Okay. And the first one is from Tamara in regards to cable internet options. As residents look at their personal options, some may choose to install DirecTV. I believe that there needs to be some guidelines in place from ARC regarding placements of the dish. In previous years, they were placed in the rear part of the homes. However, some have been placed at the front side, which is a problem for side entry homes. We do not want to look at a dish when walking out our entry door or walkway. Placement will also have an effect on the property values if seen in the front portion of homes. And we'll address that during the CenturyLink portion of the agenda. Next one, David Ott, in regards to cable internet. First, I'd like to thank the Cable and Internet Committee for all of its hard work. It is greatly appreciated. How much is our HOA fee being reduced? Beginning second quarter, since we will no longer have cable and we will be getting new payment books. Why should the residents be inconvenienced and have to drop the cable equipment at a central site? Since CenturyLink broke the contract, let them pick it up. We can put it in a bag and leave it at our front doors. You may also want to provide a specific list of what needs to be returned. Not everyone knows the equipment to return. If there is an inaccurate information posted on social media and board is reading it, why doesn't the board get in front of it immediately and send out emails stating the facts? It is unprofessional when the members of the board wait until the board meeting and complain about misinformation. Lack of communication and information is what causes inaccurate posts on social media. And we'll discuss that during the CenturyLink topic of the agenda. Next one, from Jerry Kern. First question. The street paving repairs were originally scheduled for the January-February timeline. That seems to have come and gone with no updates. I previously requested a list of expected repairs be provided to the residents so we could ensure all repairs were being addressed. No such details have been provided. Can we get a list of expected repairs and a timeline of both the repairs and seal coating? Also, Somerville wishes to coordinate with the seal coating company to address our concerns, hence wish to be included in the seal coat bid process. That'll be discussed later in the agenda under paving topic. Question 2, during the December Board of Directors meeting, the gate strikes and reporting process of Envera were discussed. Several hundred strikes over a series of months and very few violations were reported. The main discrepancy was due to the method of Envera uses to identify violators. Have steps been taken to address this, and what is the process? The original plan was to file a police report as a hit and run versus matching to a resident's address without prosecution or penalty. The behavior will never change. This will be addressed I think we're discussing that on gate strike fines?
The fining, yeah.
And that's all that we had for agenda topics. Comments on agenda topics. And then the next one, the approval of meeting minutes.
Okay. So does anybody have any comments or edits for the January 7th board meeting minutes or the January 28th board meeting minutes? The January 7th board meeting minutes was the actual December monthly board meeting that we pushed a week due to the holiday schedule. Anybody? Any comments? If none, all in favor of approving? Or a motion? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
All right, Bill, and a second?
I second it.
Okay, Ron. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, great, 6-0. Thank you. The motion passes. All right. I'm going to take a few minutes to give the President's report. Again, good evening to everybody. Scott's not with us here tonight, but I want to just start the meeting saying it's crazy to note that this is the last monthly board meeting of this seated board, noting that Scott DeFilippis, Ron Spooner, and Bill Tubb are coming to the end of their 2-year term as board members. The expertise, contributions, and level of professionalism put forward by this trio was truly remarkable. Board service is the toughest volunteer role, and each of you took on your board duties with dedication, grace, and seriousness. On behalf of this board and our community, thank you all for a job well done. And I'll relay that to Scott when I see him. So this past month, again, has been very busy for the board members, and the general manager due to ongoing priorities and efforts in support of and with addressing key topics, namely the transition to first service residential systems and culture. There's still ongoing training for the staff. The clubhouse expansion and construction project, we'll hear later from Don about that. CenturyLink and cable TV options and proposals. Al and the ad hoc committee have been very busy with weekly calls and follow-ups. Finalizing the 2021 insurance premium that we worked on, resulting in expanded coverage at a reduced rate compared to 2020 costs. The 2021 Board of Directors election and the upcoming annual meeting, as well as the 2020 annual audit process. Updates for these matters will be discussed during the course of the agenda. It seems the number of Zoom conference calls has been endless, involving the general manager as well as both committee members and our board members. It's amazing how HOA business is being conducted without disruption due to COVID restrictions and clubhouse construction. The second notice of the annual meeting was distributed last week on February 18th to include the ballot package. The annual meeting and Board of Directors election is scheduled for next Thursday, 6 p.m. next Thursday, March 4th. For those homeowners opting for electronic notification, you would have received it via email, while others received the mailing via the U.S. Postal Service. Voting is now open, depending on what choice you made, via electronic voting for those who signed up or the paper ballot process. All homeowners are encouraged to please do your part and vote in this election. Candidate information as well as responses to the virtual Q&A session are posted both on the Live Sandoval Facebook page, under the website Live Sandoval, under the election section, as well as posted to the Sandoval Cape Coral Facebook page. So once again, we have a very ambitious schedule, so I'd like to get started and call for the treasurer's report, please.
Okay. The January 2021 financial highlights, basically there are no January 2021 highlights to report at this time because, number one, Pope Properties has not corrected the December 20 financials they issued. Number two, our audit's underway, but it is not complete at this time. And number three, First Service Residential cannot issue January 2021 financials without beginning balances. So we're kind of waiting for the audit to finish up to find out what the balance sheet ending balances are, so they can put them in and issue financial statements for us. As I prepare to step down from my position as a member and the treasurer of the Sandoval HOA Board of Directors, I would like to take a moment to thank the residents for the trust they placed in me and the opportunity they gave me to impact our HOA. I was going to put up my campaign sign from 2 years ago. Show what I came, but I didn't have the heart to bring that. But
we would have voted to keep you.
My platform was fiscal responsibility, transparency, and accountability, and I believe I delivered those to you. Some of the board's accomplishments over the past 2 years are completed the aeration of the Sandoval Lakes begun by the prior board, implementation of electronic voting for the residents, publishing complete financial statements on the community website each month as soon as they're released by our management company, publishing complete schedules of all reserve and telecom fund expenditures on a monthly basis, replacing the prior bloated overpriced clubhouse expansion plans with a plan which was within the budgeted amount approved by the HOA, hiring an architect and construction manager to implement the above plan. We replaced the dilapidated perimeter wall. We replaced a general manager who was failing in his job with one who is excelling. We instituted and completed an RFP process for the renewal of the management company contract for our HOA. And following this procedure, we hired a new management company while keeping all but, I believe, one staff member. We fought the planned community development under proposal to the west of our community, resulting in its denial by the City of Cape Coral. We started the legal process for recovering funds wrongfully taken by our former developer. We finalized legal proceedings against vendors paid by our HOA for services never completed, resulting in a recovery of $100,000 to the HOA. Commencement of actual construction of our clubhouse expansion project, which, as you can see, has foundations poured, walls erected, tie beams ready to pour, and will soon have trusses and the roof installed. And finally, we're working on what actions will be necessary to replace our television provider, who's breached the contract we were all assured would last for 10 years. So thank you for the 2 years, and it's been a hoot.
Thank you, Bill, and again, thank you for your services. All right, the general manager's report, please.
Good evening, everyone. General manager's report. We'd like to start off with, we have some exciting news. We have our new social director who will be starting March the 8th. So we're very excited for that. And then management has been extremely busy working with all of the different committees in place along with the board of directors. We're facilitating the walk-in traffic for those dropping off ballots Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We are facilitating the construction walk-in traffic and construction team questions and requests. First Service Residential has provided multiple training avenues for the staff to get acclimated to new systems and procedures, which has been extremely helpful. We'd like to remind residents that coupon books were mailed out by First Service for second, third, and fourth quarters. Down-to-earth work orders can be placed online at livesandoval.com website. Down-to-earth manager is Mike McMillan. He's available on the second Wednesday of each month at 10 a.m. at Calypso Park. Next meeting will be at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, March 10th, for any residents wishing to discuss concerns with him. Management has asked Crawford to join in adding a work order link so that residents, if they see something in the common grounds, can place a work order. This includes irrigation breaks needing to be reported right away. Traffic issues will be added to the new board's workload, and more to come on information that's been gathered in regards to the speeding and parking or rolling through stop signs. So as if the board wants to, set up an ad hoc or something like that in regards to that, we're going to put that for the next meeting. Towing updates will be shared at the towing agenda item. Management will want the board to review, potentially approve, if decided, management to send out the towing video, which we've had great help with Vic helping that and Kelsey. Towing messages, towing flyers and such. We'd like to educate the residents as recommended by the board over the next few weeks with a goal start time towing around March the 15th, which realistically probably the end of March, if this is the direction that the board is wanting. That's all I have for the
Okay,
general
very good.
manager's report.
All right. So next on the agenda are the ad hoc committee reports. Al, is the pickleball
What time is he?
committee member?
I'm
sorry.
I'll text him when we're finished with the CenturyLink.
Oh, okay. I thought we were going to let him go first, but no.
Oh, no, he saw the schedule and.
Okay.
He's going to
text him.
come.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So, all right, now I'm confused.
So we're going to go
Hang on.
to
So let's go
clubhouse
to the clubhouse improvement. I'm sorry. I thought
Okay.
if he was here, we'd let him go first, like
Yeah.
we've done before. Thank you.
Clubhouse Improvement Report dated 25th February 2021. Since our last meeting, we've had significant progress in both the renovation and the construction of the new building. The mold issue in the renovation project has been mitigated. The new drywall is in the building and ready for reinstallation. And actually, since the fitness equipment upgrades, if and when we get new equipment, would require the availability for Wi-Fi connections, this wall removal made that install simple. And so there's multiple areas where electric and Wi-Fi is available in case we get new equipment. The mitigation requirements included a water test for all the windows in the building. It was found that 80% of the existing windows leaked. So this was a blessing in disguise, to say the least. All these windows have now been recaulked, and that's going to also help us with any future potential for mold. The bathroom ceilings were found to be precariously unstable and have since been removed. The change order plan to replace this ceiling and the LED lights has been factored into the project. Data Ninja has been on site, and we have a plan for installing the necessary AV equipment for both buildings. The fitness layout was received from the fitness advisor, and then this electrical and Wi-Fi connections I mentioned above have been roughed in. Moving to the new building, the walls are now vertical. The forms are in for the top cement placement with this reinforced steel, and on March the 1st will be the arrival of the roof trusses. So progress is being made on a daily basis.
Would now be a good time for me to talk about the bar for the mold?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion that we establish a bar for the mold remediation. I'm not sure the full amount. Are we talking?
I'm not sure either.
It's in the $20,000 range.
Right now we've got $750 for the initial inspection, $975 for water intrusion inspection, $5,600 for mold remediation. But I move that we set up a bar to cover mold remediation not to exceed $30,000.
That should be more than enough. I think it's in the 20 range. So,
Okay.
and I have factored that into the contingency, and including the mold mitigation, we would have spent $59,000 of the 100. So if we take that off, then that would keep our contingency. And I think most of the contingency items that have been approved are things that, such as the trim on the moldings will match the existing building instead of something smaller. The hardware is being replaced in all the buildings, so they'll all be modernized. Things that I think are all we would expect, and they're the things that we're going to look at, every time you walk into the building. So I don't think there's been any contingency things that are fluff at all. We're real tough on that. And another example is that the windows in the existing building have aluminum panels, like panel windows. Inadvertently, the front of the new building did not have that, so that was an $800 item that was put in the contingency. And there were some changes when the plans were sent back to the city that required electrical upgrades, which were about $4,000. So that's where this accumulation of contingency items have come from. So,
Do you want to second my motion?
and I will second your motion.
All right, great. Any further discussion?
Any amount that's not directly related to the roll remediation will be returned to the reserves. Is that correct?
That would be my understanding, that we've got it not to exceed, and once we've got the full thing done, it just goes away. So there would be no extra funds put in anything. They just...
I will hold
Stay
that
in
separate and
reserves.
give you a report of
Okay.
what that was.
So it's coming from reserve and
Yeah.
not the contingency of, okay.
Yes.
From reserve, yeah.
Right.
All right.
And did you, as far as the reserves go, I guess coding-wise, I just had put it under the interior renovation.
Yeah. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor? Again, the reserve funds not to exceed $30,000 for the mold remediation. All in favor? All right. Aye. Okay. So the motion passes. Thank you. John, you're all set?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ron, on the anything on the Taylor Morrison litigation? Any update?
In December, we did file our lawsuit. We are currently still serving a variety of defendants, and that is the update.
Okay. And Bill, how about the Risk Management Committee?
Oh, just one other thing.
Sorry.
Too. I did have a couple comments about my departure from the board too, but I'm going to reserve them towards the end so we don't take up time. So people don't have to suffer for that.
Supper now, supper later. What the heck?
He has to think of something to say.
My secret.
All right, next,
Write
risk,
some notes.
risk management, Bill.
I've been told nothing about anything that's actually been done. I know they've met, they've walked the property, they've notified Casey of several locations that have potential areas, and so they're fulfilling their charter to do that. So it's an ongoing process.
And I can add to that. This group genuinely cares about Sandoval. They've met multiple times in the morning, mapped out every location very methodically to make sure that they do the first wave to make sure that we can report any issues to the community. And we're working on a plan to do this in specific intervals, work with our new insurance company and our new management company to make sure that we have a set schedule in place to make sure we protect the community as a whole and our assets from liability. But it's progressing.
Yes, we're working on the list that they provided immediately, so it's been really good.
Okay, anything further?
No.
You good? All right, Election Committee, Melanie.
Yeah, just a real quick update, Kathy. You covered a lot of it during your opening statements. But the Q&A being sent out, please check on the Sandoval Facebook page and Live Sandoval election for candidate responses. The voting, whether it's e-voting or paper voting, ends at noon on Election Day. If you haven't voted by that point and you still want to, you need to bring your paper ballot to the annual meeting at the funeral home on Chiquita between 5 and 6. Coral Ridge, there we go. Between 5 and 6.
Stay out of those places.
And that's really it. I mean, we're coming down to the end. We have a training meeting scheduled early next week just to go through and assign everybody their spots and tell them what to expect, but we're expecting it to be a pretty smooth process this year.
I hate to put you on the spot, and if you don't have the information now, that's fine. But I am curious, since it was something we did literally every board meeting and every meeting last year when we were developing electronic voting. Do we have any numbers in terms of how many people have signed up in terms of not only electronic voting, but very importantly to waive receiving paper mail? Because again, this is a significant savings to the community and it's less taxing on the staff.
There was definitely an increase as far as the exact number goes, almost 100 increase this year signed up.
Okay.
So I don't know the exact number, but I would say it's closer in the higher of that, and I can confirm the numbers.
And where did we fall in terms of the cutoff date allowing individuals to sign up that are new to electronic voting? I know there was some discussion back and forth. Last year we had a late cutoff to allow maximum time for new users to come in and utilize the system. I initially heard that it was going to be earlier. For some reason I'm still not clear on where did that ever end.
It's my understanding that we had to go off of the mail out, what was approved.
The federal guidance.
Right. So if anyone still wants to sign up, I believe there was confusion with the elections committee was confused with management. So I think currently right now people can still sign up for electronic voting. is my understanding.
And that's the way it was last year. We have a lot of residents who vote late,
Right.
especially because of COVID. We want to make sure that we have everyone given the opportunity to sign up and maybe waive receiving paper
Right.
mail.
Yeah.
And that's just not for this election. That's for the entire
Yeah, I
year.
think because now that the mailing's done, so if we can't take that portion
Sure.
back, but the voting can go. We open that all the way up until 12 o'clock
But
on that day.
if you waive receiving paper mail, it's not just for this. It's for all
Going forward.
for next year,
Right.
which is
we already utilized
Very nice.
this for the budget mail out when we did that on site.
Okay.
So we
sorry to
still
put you on the
utilize it.
spot, but
No, it's fine. And it was based off like kind of lessons learned from last time because there was so much trying to figure out who did the electronic voting and who shouldn't get the mailer and trying to
Sure.
figure all of that out. So that's why the date was initially backed up. But it basically, we weren't able to do that earlier date anyway. We had to follow
Excellent.
what we had kind of agreed to.
good.
Right.
Well, that sounds like a good result.
So yeah, so any up till noon on it's Thursday.
Thursday the 4th.
Thursday the 4th, up till noon, e-vote or drop off your paper ballot. And after that point, it's between 5 and 6, paper only at Coral Ridge. That's it.
All right. Very good. Thank you. All right. Al, on the cable internet updates, please.
Okay. The Ad hoc Internet Cable Committee has continued to diligently gather data from various providers of internet and bulk video services. They are beginning to put together RFPs for consideration. Tutorials for obtaining and installing bridge services are under review. As for the Comcast First Services resolution, the committee recommends tabling it for now. At the previous board meeting, the committee was asked to contact Comcast pertaining to a potential door fee outside of a Comcast First Services agreement. Comcast has indicated that it is undetermined as there is no contract in play for them to evaluate same. Management as well as the Board of Director members have received a copy of the notice of the breach of contract that Sandoval's counsel has prepared to be sent to CenturyLink. If the board approves the letter, our council will initiate the process.
Am I mistaken? I thought we approved the first service agreement last meeting, did we not?
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
We wanted to make sure that we were
Okay.
getting the best possible deal for Sandoval.
Right.
We needed more information.
And trying to identify the net gain or the net benefit, if you will,
Okay.
with that.
I would like to make a suggestion, is that would it be possible that with Vic's help, that they make a video of bridging and exactly how you do it and go through it so that we could post that? So, a picture's worth 1,000 words.
Sure.
You can talk about something to her blue in the face, but if we could get actuals in front of your TV with these devices, how you hook them up, what it looks like, I think it would be very, very beneficial.
I mentioned that. I said tutorials
The
for obtaining
tutorials, yeah.
and installing bridge services.
I'm emphasizing it.
Urgent.
And again, we encourage residents, if they want to make themselves available to help, neighbors or others as well. I think you've received, I saw at least one or two
Volunteering.
volunteering to help.
Which is awesome, yes.
I think people will be surprised how easy it actually is, but it's a bit intimidating.
That's what it is. If you haven't gone through it,
Right.
That's why I think if you just could see someone do it, see how you look for
Totally
the programs.
How about ask questions?
So is there someone going to take that on as a project?
It sounds like the committee's already working on it.
They are?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what he said. I'd like to read an email that was sent to Melanie that I was copied on from Ed and Betty Fishburne. Hi, Melanie. Everyone in Sandoval has to make a decision about temporary cable TV quickly. Everyone we've discussed this with is very frustrated and unsure how to proceed. The problem is we don't know who the HOA is going to contract with, so we don't want to go into a 2-year contract with AT&T or someone else and have to keep the service while paying for another through our HOA. I'm sure you and others have been working on this, but we really need some answers quickly. Thank you in advance for information. I'd like to read my response to her, just so that other people hear what I said, not just Betty. I said, Betty, we should be discussing this exact thing Thursday night, so make sure you watch. Personally, I'll be streaming via Roku stick on dumb TVs and apps on smart TVs. I've tested out YouTube TV, Fubo TV, Sling TV, and Hulu TV. YouTube and Fubo both include all local channels with no additional cost or equipment. Sling and Hulu both require either additional equipment, an HD antenna, or service at additional cost. All four have 25 to 30 common channels, but have 5 to 10 that are unique, so you have to compare the channel listings to see which best matches your viewing preferences. Example, YouTube TV has TNT, TBS, TCM, and CNN, which Fubo does not. Fubo has Weather Channel, Lifetime, History, and A&E, which YouTube does not. Personally, I've subscribed to YouTube TV for several years and will continue with them. You could, of course, subscribe to several if you wish. Prices vary. YouTube TV at $64.99 a month, Sling TV at $45 a month plus the cost of an antenna, Hulu plus Live TV at $64.99 to $70.99 per month, and Fubo at $80 per month. All of these services are month to month and can be canceled at any time, so you would not be locked into a contract when the HOA is able to restore bulk service.
I think it would be good to clarify too, a dumb TV is a TV that doesn't have the apps already.
Yeah.
So you would need to utilize
An older TV.
I think the answer to that is a TV that was manufactured after 2016 has these apps, and those before do not.
Okay.
Only 2016? Wow, I'm surprised. I would have guessed it's been around longer. Smart
I wouldn't
TV.
know.
I know I've got one smart one and two dumb ones.
Yeah.
So.
I'd have to go back and I think it's easy. Just does it have boxes? Does it have the apps and everything installed?
So anyway, that way now everybody in the community's heard what I told Betty.
But again,
That was helpful.
the ad hoc committee came up with those bridge options that talked about the dumb TV and the need for the HD antenna. And then it outlined some of these streaming services and specifically showed whether local channels, what the monthly cost was, whether or not a contract was available, and more importantly, that a number of them offer free trials. So residents can, sign up, and also links to their websites for additional information to do their own research. But, big decisions. I don't know if we covered all the points that Mr. Ott outlined in his comments.
Just in regards to the residents being inconvenienced, we did mention in the last meeting that CenturyLink, because of the size of the property, they would be willing to drop off a container, and we did request specific pictures of what equipment should be dropped off, and that way we can communicate that to the residents. So we're looking for some type of on-site convenience for that.
Will there be any kind of accountability whether somebody says, Bill Tubb, you didn't return one of your cable boxes? If we're dumping them into a common bucket, who knows how many
I don't think they
have been or should be?
They would have to supply the person.
Yeah, I'm not sure what their process is, if there's going to be labeled bags or something. I don't know.
They came out with some preliminary frequently asked questions, and it was more that they would drop a container, and then specifically the equipment they're looking for includes the DVR, the CenturyLink DVR, the CenturyLink set-top box, STB, the CenturyLink remotes are the three. And I know some residents, a couple have asked me now, that their router is in a cabinet behind something in a wall. It's not the internet router. It's the TV part in pieces. Well, the DVR, the set-top box. The
DVR is in one of the set-top boxes, so it's not two.
Okay, but they listed out the three issues,
but
three items.
Also, the TV that CenturyLink provides to us comes through our modem. So there's nothing to return, but the modem is currently part of the system. You could unscrew.
Right, but the modem isn't being returned.
No. You could unscrew the
it's the set-top
coax
box,
cable
the
from
DVR,
the cable from the back of it, and that's it.
Yeah, but anyways, we asked specifically for pictures,
right? And
we'll be sharing that. Casey will be sharing that, or the committee, one or the other, will be sharing that information.
But from an accountability perspective too, how are they going to true up what gets dropped in the box versus what's
We need to ask that question. They may provide boxes. I believe Comcast provided specific bags that had a number on it, and we did have to go through this exercise
I
previously.
think the office staff will actually checked it in.
For the-
Did they? Okay.
So we'll have to update
I mean,
the
I don't
community.
think that we want to obligate the staff to do that.
No,
Yeah.
it really should be on them. The onus should be on them to make sure that they collect all their equipment.
Yeah.
But information will be forthcoming on the CenturyLink Prism equipment collection. We can get with Mark Delgado. I know we
Yes.
asked for the
Yeah,
photos.
he's the one that he's quick to respond on those items.
And there was a comment that we said we'd address during the discussion on CenturyLink. I believe the comment was, why doesn't this board go and respond to all the misinformation on Facebook? What I would say is, which Facebook are you talking about? There are multiple Facebook sites out there. I know of 4, frankly. I can't keep track of them all. A lot of people, for whatever reason, purposely post misinformation. We allow residents to submit questions and comments on purpose here. So if you want the accurate information, I would ask for you to please submit a comment or a question. Allow us to answer it.
Right.
I just don't understand why somebody would post something that hurts and degrades our community without at least going to the source first. There's no way we could possibly sparse through all that information. And also in our communications policy, it specifically states that board members are not to go on social media, and in their role as a board member, respond to all these comments, because it makes it look like the board in its entirety is responding, when in fact the individual is responding. If you want accurate information and you care about this community, come here first.
Right.
If anyone disagrees, please speak up, but that's my response to it.
No, thank you. Another question I think was about the
ARC.
the cost.
I'm not sure how much is our HOA fee being reduced beginning second quarter, since we will no longer have cable and we will be getting new payment books.
Well, that's an assumption you're going to be getting a new payment book. That
Right.
hasn't been
Right.
established at all.
Correct.
So your general manager report, you indicated coupon books were mailed out for the second, third, and fourth quarter at the $600 a month rate.
Correct.
So January, February, March, the first quarter. The second quarter then will start without the TV Prism service. So when CenturyLink adjusts the monthly billing, we'll need to see what the difference is, and then look to the board, the general manager, and the finance committee to take a look then at the budget, and would have to look to amend the budget regarding the expense being reduced. Then the board approving the amended budget, and then
But just be aware, though, that if you are going to restate the budget, the formalities will likely need to be adhered to in terms of
I
providing
would
those.
suggest that in your conversations
It's a
with
mail
the
out.
attorney that you
Yeah,
get a
14
ruling
days.
on exactly how you could amend the budget for a reduction if it is possible by
Well-
board action alone.
Well, Al and I
Right.
did discuss this with them.
Yeah.
There are a number of options that my point of raising this is when the finance committee visits it, they should consider the expense of that and how best to streamline this to make it most beneficial for the residents. But that is a question that must be considered.
Also, at this point, we don't know if or what we might be purchasing.
Correct.
So,
That-
we don't know where we're at.
That's where I was going. It could be that we're facing an increase in costs, and if we go for 3 months with no TV, and that's, say it's $25 a month, that's $75. That $75 they paid in could go to supplement the extra money they owe for the last 6
Right.
months. So there may be no reduction, depending on what the board votes to do.
Or I hope the board would be sympathetic to the fact that residents are currently paying for a service they won't be
not
getting.
being delivered. Yeah.
And what is the timing on when we get charged for CenturyLink? Are they a month ahead? Are they, because I would imagine it would
It's-
take a couple months to get
The cycling.
the cycling
It's
right. Yeah.
probably, we're paying current, I believe, because in 2000, we had a big fight in 2020 with Jason at Pope because we paid 13 CenturyLink bills in the year of 2020 because he had discovered that we were paying a month in arrears because of several years ago, they just missed a month.
And
So
they
we've
just never
been a
caught
month.
it. Okay.
So we caught up. So it's my understanding that right now we are paying for the current month. In the when is this, February check that we cut to them was for February services.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, did we get all of Mr. Ott's
Yes.
points? Okay.
Correct. And then regarding Tamara's, so in regards to this,
Oh, the satellite dish.
the DirecTV, the satellite dishes, if you go on the livesandoval.com website, you can get an architecture review, you can get an application there and all of the process, and then you can also review the satellite dish. It's page 11 of the Design Review Guideline Handbook. Gives you the specifications for item 29 satellite dishes and what the policies are for the association.
Right. But bottom line, they are allowed, provided they are less than 1 meter. There's specifications in the design review guidelines. Okay. Anything else on the cable internet? Anybody? Al, you're good? All right, thank you. All right, next we have on the agenda the street paving.
Okay. There it is.
Oh, I'm sorry, wait a minute. On the Caves letter then, are we in agreement that he should send it?
I am. Do we need to vote?
I think so. Right?
So I move that we mail out have Caves mail out the letter to CenturyLink.
Stating that they're in
The
default
notice
and
of
we are
breach.
reserving all of our rights.
That's basically what the letter says.
Yeah. All right,
I'll
so
second that.
L and Bill, seconds, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, perfect. Thank you. The motion passes. So Casey, you'll follow up with him in the morning? Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. Back to
Street paving.
Street paving.
street paving.
So the association has signed the contract. It's already in process. The wheels have already been in motion. So we've had a lot going on. We've wanted to communicate that with you. Permits have already been processed. They're in the process, in the works, and all of that. So next step will be very important, communicating to the residents, parking dates. We want to make sure that the association doesn't incur cost unnecessarily for anyone parking where they shouldn't be parking while the paving project's going on. And the same for residents. We want to ensure that you're not unnecessarily getting vehicles towed because they are in the way of work that's going to be done that day. So keep an eye out for schedules. We'd like to do a map with dates and times. I'll have to meet with the contractor a couple different times and go over all of that. So
there was a question that I could address too. It had to do with seal coating. Just to respond to the question, first, we have been given monthly updates to the community as for the status of the paving project. Unfortunately, there were a couple delays, COVID-related delays, in contractors getting back to us with the bidding process. But as our general manager stated, the contracts are signed. It's in permitting right now. So it's fully moving forward. In terms of any seal coating, that is an analysis this board was going to do after the paving was done. You can't do the seal coating, obviously, before paving, and there needs to be a period of, I believe, 6 months of curing prior to doing the seal coating. But in that point we didn't even discuss whether to proceed with that. It was going to be whether it was just going to be a discussion to see if the value made sense. And so there is no current plan to seal coat, just a plan to discuss that at a later date.
we can, if you want to take a pause.
Yeah.
And if anyone has any questions about what is being done in terms of the paving, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is available on the website, and I'll walk them through.
And I've given the contact information so that Somerville can link up with this
Excellent.
contractor for their questions.
And I did meet with them individually and walk them through Somerville and identify it. And there are significant areas of Somerville that are being addressed.
Yes.
And I pointed them out to them.
Okay, anything else on street paving?
Not on street paving.
Okay, so at this time we want to welcome Mike
Renessi.
Renessi. one of the members of the pickleball. Mike, come here, join us.
Thank you.
For the renovation and alteration of the tennis courts, the Pickleball Tennis Committee has submitted RFPs to 3 companies, More Sports, U.S. Tennis, and Welsh Tennis. They've also submitted RFPs to both our current landscaping companies, Crawford and Down to Earth. Mike Renesi represents the committee and will elaborate on the proposals received and answer any questions.
Welcome.
Thank you. Mike Renesi, 2628 Casabari Court. I am here in substitution for Craig Snyder, who is the chair and is traveling, so I figured I'd provide some of the information as Al just touched on. As I said, thanks for allowing us to come in tonight and present the 3 bids that were received for the pickleball, tennis, court, and basketball reconstruction and resurfacing. An RFP was written and provided so that quotes could be received from 3 vendors, and 3 quotes were received, and they were from U.S. Tennis, Welch Tennis Courts, and More Sports Group. The 3 bids are as follows. Welch Courts submitted a bid of $78,350. U.S. Tennis submitted a bid of $57,510. And More Sports submitted a bid of $47,814.90. I believe all the board of directors have received these bids, and you've had the opportunity to review them?
Yes.
Okay. The bids were also forwarded to all the committee members so that they had the opportunity to review, discuss, come back with any thoughts or comments that they might have had on them. We had 6 of the 7 respond. 1 was non-responsive in regards to their review.
I'm sorry, 6 of 7 of the committee members.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Because there's 7 board members. I just wanted to verify.
Right. And 6 of the 7 were positive and in favor of offering the bid to More Sports for the reconstruction and resurfacing for the pickleball courts, basketball courts, and tennis courts. I think it's important that I point out that More Sports is the contractor of choice for the U.S. Open Pickleball Championships and has already constructed 60 courts. I should say they have either constructed or resurfaced 60 courts in Naples, where the U.S. Open for Pickleball is conducted on an annual basis every year. To take it a little bit further, also, as part of that, the Landscaping Committee had requested bids come in for the necessary changes that would need to be made at the tennis courts for landscaping. 2 of those companies submitted bids, and to do so for the project, it was for the root barrier protection, and so that the court surfaces can no longer have intrusion from any of the plants, and the necessary changes could be made with the trees and shrubs that surround the tennis courts. Those bids were received from Crawford, and Crawford's root barrier expense was $2,400, and their landscaping expense was $10,654.50 for a total of $13,054.50. Down to Earth's submission for root barrier protection was $4,700, and their landscaping fee was $10,853.50 for a total of $15,000 $553.50. If you consider the Crawford bid in conjunction with the Moore's Sports bid, you have a precise total of $60,869.40. Of course, if you consider the other bid, it's a little bit more based on their quote, which would have been $63,367. As I said earlier, we all had an opportunity to look at it pretty closely. It was a positive response from all the committee members, and as far as more sports is concerned. And our recommendation is that that is the vendor of choice for the pickleball, basketball, and tennis resurfacing and construction of new pickleball courts. I'd like to thank Al very much for his participation as a board member and the liaison for the committee. I'd like to thank all the committee members that were in attendance and the work that they put in. And if there's any questions that you might have, I'll do my best to answer them in regards to this project.
Yeah, I'd like to just explain when Mike had mentioned the emails that went out to the committee members. They didn't actually have a committee meeting. They did get the RFPs. And several of the committee members had wanted to go with more sports, and I wanted to make sure that every committee member was reached out to and provided the committee with a response. And so this is why Mike had said that they had received the positive responses from the committee members.
6 of 7.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
My question to that is, it was 6 positive responses.
That's correct.
There was not a dissension, which is one committee member did not respond.
That's correct.
So they had a chance to respond, but for whatever reason chose not to.
Exactly.
Okay.
So your positive responses were 6 of 6.
That's correct.
The responses you got, there were 6 of 6 positives.
That's correct.
I just had one question. There seems to be a pretty big disparity between the quotes. Was there any difference in terms of quality that you saw between the quotes, or it was pretty much apples and apples? Or?
Yeah, it was pretty much apples and apples. I mean, the only thing that was really identified was the 2 different processes. One uses acute text surfacing acrylic, and the other uses another name. Okay. But they're very similar in composition from what we were able to research. Mm-hmm. So that was really the only thing that stuck out. The quote for $70,000 was completely.
That particular company last year, January of 2019, provided a quote of I think $48,000, and then a year later it was $30,000 more. So I think it's someone that didn't want the job.
I don't think Mike mentioned it, but the president of Moore Sports, I believe, is a Sandoval resident.
You're correct. He is a resident. He is a resident of Sandoval.
So that's reason enough not to go with them.
Well, it sounds like you did a lot of great work, and I'm hoping this can put the whole pickleball tennis controversy to rest.
You did talk about construction of pickleball courts. It's not constructing any additional area. It's just taking one of the current tennis courts and converting it.
Very small.
It's
so
adding
it's
a
conversion,
small
not a construction.
Yeah, there'll be
What?
The corners need to be extended.
Okay.
All 4 corners.
Very little.
All 4 corners of the fencing need to be 90-degree angle. Okay. Now, of course, the posts that are there right now on the tennis court that's going to be converted to 4 pickleball courts would be removed. Mm-hmm. Cracks would be filled, etc. Lines, resurfacing would be done, and those 4 courts would be installed there. The other tennis courts that will remain will be resurfaced, and then there will be 1 court that will be identified as a flex court, where individuals will be able to play tennis as well as pickleball, depending upon the demand, time of year, how many players are in attendance, etc.
Will the shuffleboard court remain?
No, I think that needs to be picked up. I don't think. That has to be picked up and repositioned.
Where will they reposition?
What we were thinking in terms as we move forward with further construction around the pool, the clubhouse, an area could be identified maybe, and it could be positioned somewhere close to
Portable.
It's totally portable.
yes.
So it could be laid out on a flat piece of grass.
Okay.
You spray the grass, whatever to kill it, and then put that down with just a sand, grass, dirt substrate. It would perform fine.
Put it in the middle of the volleyball court.
I noticed
But sand might be a little difficult with the volleyball courts, but anyway.
Put it on a bocce ball
It
court.
comes in. It's like little waffle pieces, so
Okay.
it comes apart very easily.
Okay.
I noticed on the U.S. tennis proposal, there was specific reference to the color green, that the courts would be a color green, where both Moore and Welch said it would install color or the owner's choice of a standard color. Ron, I know when you and I walked the courts, we talked about the blue surface.
Well, not for the pickleball or the tennis would remain the same. I thought, I know originally when I moved here, the courts were blue. And when I say courts, the basketball courts, the tennis was always green.
Always green.
The color selection is almost endless for pickleball, principally. Okay, there are two different distinctive areas in the pickleball court. You have the kitchen area, then you have the back court area. Usually, the kitchen area, as it's designated, is another color than the back area, because that's a foul area or an out area. So there would be two distinguishing colors on that. The preferred colors are blue and green, just as
Isn't the U.S. tennis colors
That's correct.
blue and green? So
That
it's
is
very
correct.
possible that on the tennis court you'd want to make the periphery green and the court blue, which would match the tennis association.
That's a consideration.
Yeah.
With basketball, we were thinking in terms, if we were to go with that color, the top of the key would be blue, and the remainder of the court would be green, as that's the shooting area. But no color selections have been made. We plan on, after your approval, we plan on getting the committee back after everything's signed and sealed, and getting some feedback as to color choices, and the majority will rule.
As far as you know, can each sport have choose their own color? I mean, there's going to be 2 dedicated tennis courts. Can the tennis players choose what colors they want, and the basketball players choose what color they want? I mean, can we have 3 different sets of colors, or do they only bring two different buckets of paint, or you know what I'm saying?
I would guess that we would definitely incur additional cost if in fact we were going to have color variations as far as that goes. But I think we would want uniformity.
Yeah, just from consistency.
But I would think maybe the tennis players don't want the same colors that pickleball players. I mean, maybe there's a standard color for tennis and a standard color for pickleball.
It's something we can explore.
Yeah.
What about the flex court? Is it going to have one set of colors for the pickleball court in the middle of the tennis court? Or
Yes.
It'll just have tennis courts.
It'll be lined for both sports.
But it'll just, you won't
lines
have
are
multiple
distracting.
colors. It'll have
Singles
like
down.
10
That's correct.
colors.
Maybe,
And extra lines.
To answer your question a little bit further,
Al, maybe we could have the committee ask for a couple different color options to submit to the court.
Sure, absolutely.
to answer your question a little bit further, no, there won't be any disruption to the tennis or on the flex court, because the 2 temp courts, the temporary courts for pickleball, will be at the far ends of the tennis courts. And obviously, pickleball courts are much smaller in size than tennis courts, and the only thing you'll have is an identifying line, and temporary netting will be used to provide pickleball courts when necessary.
But no weird colors.
No weird colors.
In the tennis court to make people.
They were going to go with the old carpet colors.
No, the court that would be the flex court, I think you would stick to the standard.
Yeah, the standard, right.
Right, I mean, the pickleball,
Did they
specifically,
say a
that could be
timeline
something
to
different.
start? A timeline to start, finish? Did they say anything about timelines?
I don't have
How long it would
their
take, when they could start?
I don't have their availability as far as what they're doing right now and when they could commence. There is some permitting that has to be, of course, submitted and approved. But
How about
Is there a better
timeline?
time for the community that would be best to do a project like this?
I would think it would be now with the construction that we've got ongoing right now.
And not during rainy season.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say you don't want to do it during rainy season.
The parking lot is already
Sooner the better.
Agreed.
And how long will the process take to do the resurfacing of the tennis, pickleball, and basketball
That's
courts?
difficult for me to say because you're going to have two vendors now. You're going to have a landscaping vendor, and you're going to have the vendor that's going to be providing the work on the pickleball courts. I don't see the project to be long and drawn out. I think it probably, if the timing is right, permitting comes in, and all parties can be coordinated, I think it can get done in a very, very short time frame. I don't think it would take more than 2 weeks.
Oh, well.
Excellent.
You know, providing there's no other delays that they incur in
I
regards
think
to
you probably,
supply.
the first thing would you, landscaping-wise, you'd get out all those bushes and
Yeah, the
things that are
roots.
putting roots in the trees.
Yeah,
And then-
landscaping has to be
then
done
once you
first.
get the
Put
dust
that
down,
root barrier
you wouldn't want
down.
to, it to be dusty when they're putting on this coating.
Absolutely not. You don't apply any acrylic with any possibility of dirt.
Right.
or
So you could
dust.
just coincide with the construction, whatever's going on across the way and all that.
It sounds like we've got all the information.
What is like the life expectancy of the courts once they've been resurfaced?
Well,
It's in the reserve study, Melanie. We could look at that.
But
I
from
hate to wonder a guess,
the
but-
resurfacing,
Like their product warranty
Yeah, like,
type deal.
is it
their-
Product-
10-year versus 20-year, or?
No,
product
no,
warranty
it's more
on
like
it
5 or
is
6.
This is a 3-year guarantee right away crack repair system.
But the
I mean-
reserve study, I think it's I hate to say, we need to look that up, but I'll email you exactly how often they say it should be done.
I'm just curious.
The lines might need to be painted every
Yeah.
5 or 6 years, but the surface recoating, I think that's good for, probably 15.
No, I don't think so.
That's what I was
Not-
thinking.
not
This is the
that long.
first time it's being done, though, correct?
No, this is
Oh, it's
not
been
the
done
first
before?
time. No. This is the second.
But it was damaged severely by
Well, but-
pressure washing.
Well, the basketball was resurfaced too because it used to be
And the
blue.
roots probably play.
you've got
and all
root.
that, so-
You've got root intrusion. There's no
Yeah.
question about that. I mean,
That was
that's
scheduled
based on
for
the vegetation that's
resurfacing
around
last
the
year,
courts.
2019, in the reserve study. And we
Need
just
another bar.
I don't see anything in the quote about
Yes.
the warranty, how long
Do
it
you
is.
want?
Right, yeah, that's what I was just
You
wondering.
just want to make a motion to.
Yeah, so let's just confirm then the ad hoc committee's recommendations are,
The ad hoc committee's recommendations are for the court resurfacing and construction of pickleball courts to go with more sports. And based on the bids that were submitted from the landscaping vendors, it would be Crawford.
so,
And we're a little bit above, like you said, $860.
The total would be $60,869.40.
That's including
60,000.
everything.
$60,869.40.
And we approved 60,000. So the other
Where'd the jump go
could come
from
out of the
57,
landscaping.
69
Right, the other
to
could come out of
60?
your landscaping.
Just general
GL.
landscaping.
The
Not
first
going to
amount you gave
exceed
us was
the
like
60.
57, 869? No, 60 both times?
I mean, there's 60.
Yes.
Okay.
$60,869.40.
Okay.
all
I
right.
mean, we're
So
just looking for 800.
you want to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the bid from More Sports and also Crawford.
At the total of 60,869.40.
Well, however we want to, some of that will come out of landscaping. We've already approved 60,000, I believe, correct?
I'll second that.
Do you remember what we approved? Was it 60,000?
I think
Yeah,
so.
okay. All right, so Melanie, you second? All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all
And
right.
as
Okay.
far as payment goes, it's going to come out of
Reserves,
Reserves.
except for the $800 and something, which would just come out of landscaping.
okay.
So you'll need to do us a bar, because we
Yeah.
haven't actually voted on a bar.
Yeah, but we need to vote on a bar then.
You know,
We can do that vote now?
Yeah. Let's get this thing signed and
Yeah, let's look at, so we can move on with it.
All right. So, you want to make a motion for that?
sure. I make a motion that we do
Budget
a
authorization.
budget authorization for $60,000 from our reserves.
Okay, for the courts, resurface, basketball courts, pickleball, tennis resurfacing.
And the additional $839 in pennies will just come out of the annual landscaping budget.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll say.
All right, Bill, okay, any further discussion? All in favor of the bar?
Aye.
All right, the motion passes. All right, very good.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
I really
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
everybody's endorsement on that.
Thanks for coming in.
Who should I leave this with so that it does get signed off?
The chief.
Oh, the chief? Okay. Here you go, chief.
All right, thank you, sir.
I have the landscape one if you'd like me to drop it off.
I have them both. Thank you, though.
Well, once again, I thank you for your time and cooperation, and I think this added amenity is going to be fantastic for the community.
Yeah.
We needed it for a while. There's been so much, everybody complains both sides.
Right.
You know, like it's hard for the pickleball players, it's hard for the tennis players. So it's
Indeed,
win-win.
indeed.
Thank you again.
All right, thank you, Mike. All right, so continuing on now, we'll go to
Drainage.
the old business, drainage and flooding.
So management has, I know, and we've brought it up to the board a couple different times as far as the different complaints that have come in from the residents. They've been some unique, mostly similar, that their yards are flooding, lack of drainage or grading, and things like that. So at this time, management is asking the board to discuss it, and that's okay, he can block me. Yeah. So we'd like some guidance from the board in what direction you would like to go. I thought possibly involving Becker at this time, just to get an opinion if it's something that it's really, is this an association responsibility, or is this a homeowner responsibility?
Or is it a Taylor Morrison responsibility?
Or is it a Taylor Morrison responsibility?
But there are areas outside of Taylor Morrison, the Phase 3, right?
Is it all Phase 3?
All phase
No.
3 is Taylor Morrison.
Yeah,
It's
but-
not all, right, it's not all Phase 3.
The drainage
But
issues.
residents are,
There's some in the upper part, midway, I guess you would say.
other than
Maybe just a side
Taylor
yard
Morrison
that has,
area.
the berm comes, and then their yard would need to have drainage installed. Some yards have had drainage installed, and it's not enough, or it's not working, so, I mean, it's a lot of, it would be a lot. It would be, regrading, bringing in fill, resodding, irrigate, it would just
Are
be.
we talking about any community property here, or are we talking
No.
about purely private property?
in some instances, it's private property butting up against community property.
But that's the
All
community
private
property. It's
property.
all private property. It's
Okay.
once that it's none of it is common grounds.
Okay,
It would be none of it's common grounds.
okay, that's some of it was,
It butts up, but that berm is not. It's not the berm's fault that the berm's there. But so that's.
Is it a joint issue that the flooding area or the water sitting in an area that's combined community and residential, or is this purely residential?
From the ones that I've walked with Jim Swigert, who's assisted with stormwater drainage, I've not walked any common grounds that anyone's reported a complaint about.
I can say my personal experience is that when I purchased my house, there was significant flooding on the right side. It was a marsh, and I put in a French drain, and it's not a problem anymore. I would recommend the board to be very cautious, because once you start to take community assets to help one resident, you have an obligation to do it for all. So I would recommend that before doing anything like that, you would get the advice of counsel and proceed cautiously. That would be my input.
My input is if it's on residential property, I think that they'll have to assume the responsibility to resolve it.
right, the homeowner's responsibility.
If it's
private
out
property.
of warranty from the builder. It's
That was-
it's one of these things that If they had been isolated at an earlier time, then, the developer would, or the builder would be responsible. But if you have a homeowner's warranty and a year, 2 years is up, then, then you're on the hook.
And we're not saying that the builder isn't responsible,
Right.
but that would be certainly between the builder and
Right.
the individual. But I just want to put the caveat that I've not walked these properties. I'm just saying, make sure that we understand what our obligations are, and you just can't say, hey, I'm sorry that you're dealing with. We'll help you, but we won't help you.
Absolutely not. No, management has held, those that have come, and we've not taken any action that since I've been, I don't know if anything that's been done.
And these are the issues that you're hearing about. And I'm sure there are many, many residents. Like, I would never think to contact the HOA. I didn't think of to contact the HOA when I had significant, you literally would sink in, we're talking 3-4 inches on the side of my house. But the French drain is dry as a bone now. I've got 3 little drains in there. It was great.
Okay, so I think just from, I guess, management's guidance from the board, is it something that at this time you want management to do anything other than what we've been doing, which is, well, actually right now we've just been kind of gathering the information, giving it to the board. Is there a direction you want management to seek legal at this time to get some opinion back?
I would say on a global basis, it shouldn't seem to cost any significant amount of time to get a position from council that states that if it's non-community property, that the onus would be on the resident to establish any secondary cause of their flooding that was caused by community property. That's the only angle that I could think of. And then on those, they would have to analyze on a case-by-case basis.
And then even with phase 3, where it could potentially be Taylor Morrison's issue, it would still be between the homeowner and Taylor Morrison. There still wouldn't be any community.
And that would not even involve any ongoing litigation we have with Taylor Morrison.
Right, it's an important point.
It is, because that's the community versus Taylor Morrison. It would be an individual action, frankly.
Okay, that would be great. It would just be helpful to be able to. I agree.
The advice of counsel.
Right.
We don't have standing to even to act on behalf of a homeowner.
Proceeding forward, at least to get some type of answers back to the residents would be really helpful.
Right. It's not even an option for us, frankly.
Perfect.
All right. Anything further on that? Anybody? All right. Next, we'll go on to towing.
Towing. Okay. This can be. So towing, we have been working hard at getting a reliable, reputable towing company who's responsive. So the board had asked management to work on getting a flyer, which we put in the packet. We sent a link to the board that Vic helped with Kelsey, like I had mentioned, with all the violations. There was a little bit of feedback we were given from the board for some additional wording to add to the video. So we're looking for approval to start communicating to the residents. We've been working with permitting and getting all new signs. It's mandated by the city to put signs at each entrance, who the towing company is, that you'll be towed, just like we had with the previous towing company. So those signs have been ordered, the permits processed, contract signed with the towing company. And so at this point, we're looking for direction from the board. Are you ready for us to start communicating? Would you like to pick a goal start date for towing? Would you like to, did you like the video? Is that something that you're ready for us to send out? So that's kind of what we're looking for. I know there's a lot of residents that have been concerned with the lack of towing, so that's why we want to get something in place to protect the association.
So I saw the video and I offered some comments. I think we need a campaign to educate the residents, number one. Once the video and the information is shared, then we need to promote, what the plan is. and look for informed compliance once we allow a little time period for people to get in the know, and then we start with the enforcement. I think the informed compliance piece is critical.
I would also recommend, prior to the next board meeting, reaching out, sending out a video and asking residents to submit any questions they could possibly have, because you can't anticipate.
Right.
Send it out to 1,425 homes, and frankly, let them ask the questions, and we should be in a position to answer them.
Right.
That's their opportunity, in addition to making sure we send out a significant amount of information, letting people know, because this is a big change, frankly, and a lot of people are busy. We got to make sure we do our best to make sure that people realize that this is a change, because it's, you wake up and your car is gone. It can impact you going to work.
Yeah, what is the hours from the towing? I know we had seen it in, is it 1 a.m.?
It is.
You can't park on the street between 1 and 6 a.m.
1 and 6 a.m.
Parking is allowed up to 1 o'clock, 1 a.m.
Right. Okay.
1 to 6, no parking.
And I would strongly
Street
recommend, too,
parking.
coming up with a policy for parking passes. I had parking passes when I moved here that allowed me to have overflow parking when I had guests. At the time, it was for the clubhouse.
Okay.
But we have a significant amount of spots. I don't know how the board feels, but we have a significant amount of spots at Calypso. And if people are having friends or family over and they don't have a sufficient amount of parking spots, it seems to be reasonable to utilize the unused parking spots in our clubhouse, as long as they've taken the time, they've got a pass. Maybe it's a 24-hour or 48-hour pass, but something to alleviate the stress on the residents that makes sense. Because if we have an entire parking lot that's being unused, why have residents go park outside in a commercial center and risk their vehicles and such? But
We currently, and I'm not sure what we currently do a lot, we allow residents to come and get temporary parking passes. So there is policy in place for that.
okay.
But not
And
on
there's
the
some discretion
streets.
also, like it,
The holidays, we
holidays.
increase the time, people
for a
coming down.
week,
They can park at any of the open available, I don't know, as long as they have that pass there. So we haven't had any.
Well, this is going to become an issue when it comes time for towing, because people that have parties and get-togethers, they can no longer park on the street. And so if you have, a couple extra cars, you have to put them someplace. So I would just, as a corollary to the towing policy, the overflow parking, a plan to help residents comply that makes sense, and where they can utilize those parking passes, whether it's Happy Paws or whether it's Calypso or whether it's only the clubhouse.
Yeah, because it's like every 30 days, a couple, it's by first come, first served basis too, and it can't be coming in every day, getting 2 days extra pass. So it's not a long-term fix. It's for a convenience if you are having a
visitor.
Yeah, and it's not like they can go get X, Y, and Z amount. So if you have people coming over and you want 3 cars, we wouldn't give you 3 passes. We just have such a large community.
Sure.
So it would just be 1 pass right now in place.
When I moved in, part of my welcome packet, they gave me 2 24-hour passes, and at the time, the tow truck would look at it, mark his timestamp, and say, well, this car's been here for 24 hours, they have a pass, and then they wanted to tow me. But at the time, I was given 2. I'm not sure what, it was a smaller community, frankly. This was 2010. But it should be a discussion when it comes to the towing policy, because they're connected, is my main point.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of, I think that it's going to be a lot of educating, and we surely don't, and we want to rely on the association. Management's not going to be ultimate decision. We're going to put it on the security company to really know the rules of it, and so that way it kind of removes and puts the responsibility of them to work with the towing company as well. So that, and the great part of this towing company is not eager to start to, they work, for the city, and they're conservative. They're not just going to go trying to make money off of it. They really care about their reputation.
So to be clear, we don't have a start date for towing yet.
Right.
Okay. We are going to make sure we clarify what the towing policy is, send a solicitation for any questions, send out a video, and also make sure we're very clear on what the overflow parking is going to be prior to starting towing.
Well, right now, the overflow parking, and Al, correct me if I'm wrong, with the new tennis court parking in the dog park parking down in Phase 3, as well as Calypso, the signage that's posted there now clearly states no overflow parking.
Right.
Overnight.
Oh, no overnight. I meant overnight.
That was
no
my
overnight parking. So and part of the challenge is at Calypso, it's a liability issue. There's no lighting. It's darker than dark, right? There's no lighting at Calypso. And the dog park in Phase 3, the parking lot at night, there's no lighting.
And the other thing at Calypso is it's been used for partying, and vehicles there all night long would encourage that. Maybe not so much at the dog park, but the new one at the dog park. But I don't think that would be appropriate to allow overnight parking there.
Because we had that discussion right when we came out with Jerry Evans was here, the former general manager, with the signage, and at that time I think the board were in agreement that they wouldn't allow overnight parking.
And the new lot by the tennis courts, we were very concerned, because that was fresh asphalt, and there were some large trucks that were being parked there. They did some damage to the surface there, so we were really concerned about that. If it's sometime later we want to open it up to passenger car, regular sized pickup truck parking, we might want to consider that. But
so right now, no overnight parking at all at Calypso.
That's the current policy.
We have
And Barclay Park, what about, is there signage at Barclay Park? I can't recall.
No parking there.
No parking there is the...
Will we have a sufficient amount of overflow parking
park is closed
while the expansion is on
Happy
the way?
Paws.
You're talking
Happy Paws.
Happy Paws is
It's
Phase
limited.
3.
Sometimes we come in, we already staff parks across by the tennis, and sometimes we barely can, sometimes it's open, but sometimes it's, you're packed
All
out.
those pickleball players.
Yes.
Well, and you lost, a big portion of the parking lot.
Right.
That's
with
why,
the construction, there's...
So I guess
So there
the
is
question,
no really overflow parking except for the little spot in front of the clubhouse right now.
Right.
To the right.
And then, are there any signs about overnight parking at the tennis pickleball court?
Yes.
There's a sign at every.
Says no overnight parking.
No overnight parking, yeah.
So you're down to literally.
The only area is right in front of the clubhouse right now.
It's like 15
for overnight,
spots or
overnight parking, correct?
Or in front of their house.
But it hasn't been an issue.
well, we haven't been towing either.
No, it has not been an
So
issue.
it's going to be an issue, or it could possibly be an issue once we start towing, and we're telling residents, hey, here's your parking pass, but you got no place to use it.
Yeah.
So that's obviously going to need to be worked out.
Yeah, the parking pass is not going to alleviate. It's not going to alleviate the amount of quantity people are looking for.
There's a finite quantity, and they could exceed that.
Yes, very quickly. It could be one large, couple houses just having a gathering, couple gatherings.
Well, there should be on the parking pass then, if available.
Yeah.
Number one, we should qualify it. But we want to make a good faith effort,
Yes.
and maybe there needs to be some temporary plans in place until the expansion's done. Because if there genuinely aren't enough parking spots for overflow, that's a problem.
Education's going to be key, because everyone you ever tow is going to say, I didn't know.
That's correct.
So somehow you almost need to get a slip signed by every homeowner that yes, they have acknowledging that they have been educated.
It's in the parking rules and regulations. When you purchase in a covenant, community
They
that's
still
deed
say
restricted.
Well, and is
It's
that...
there. I know.
I can't put a tin roof on my house. I didn't know that.
There will be an argument that they have not enforced it, and now we're enforcing it.
But with the parking passes, it is, kind of if there's space available. So if you go, and it's between 1 and 6 in the morning. So pretty much somebody was planning on leaving, they didn't. And if they go and they park at one of these other spots, whether it's one of the dog parks or the Calypso, is that really that big of a deal that they're there until 6 in the morning when somebody leaves? Or is it something that we can see if
We're
it
not
becomes an issue?
currently policing it as it's not been an issue. We have the
Is the
container
parking
stand. There's
pass
not a lot
at
of.
time that the car must be removed.
Well, I would imagine it would be 24-hour type thing,
Well, but
right? You don't
if
want
you've
people
got
just
mine was.
forever.
Yeah, but what if you've got these parking lots at night? If they're accessible, but then you've got events going during the day. Then the people that come to do the events can't, because the car's got a 24-hour parking pass and the lot's full.
Right.
Yeah, to rely on the overflow parking as the answer, I don't think that's the way. It's, these are the, you have your space to park on it, and you don't allow parking from 1 to 6 in the morning. So,
I mean, some communities don't allow any street parking.
right after at 7
it's not
o'clock,
even a certain
8 o'clock.
time.
Well, that's our rule.
Bella
Frankly, that's what our rules say.
Yes.
I mean,
That is the rule.
It just
It says no
never.
street
Right.
parking,
Ever.
so I think it's on the resident as far as, at this 1 o'clock in the morning,
But that's kind of it. If
the
you
vehicle
want-
has to go. If you can't fit it between clean your garage out and open up a space or two, or I know, but to rely on overflow parking as the extra, that's going to be
Once we
not
start
feasible.
enforcement, will trucks with trailers with boats on them be towed?
if
That are
they
parked on the street?
if they're not loading, unload. If there's certain
They're allowed
parking,
24-hour, the overnight.
No
think you have to
parking
be
out on the street?
right? No.
Not on the street.
Trailers. So
My neighbor's boat was towed twice the first couple of years I moved here. I mean,
Bellingham
it's
is starting
pretty
to have a real
aggressive.
problem with a couple of people that park boats there
Things were a lot.
Yeah.
multiple times during the
Just
month.
like when we grew up.
Overnight.
and that's what management's looking for the board to, communicate. Yes, we'll communicate if this is what you want us to communicate. We'll start, towing. There are some legitimate reasons why we need to be able to start, for protection reasons, with vehicles sticking out in the street or trailers, and so.
Okay.
So we will, at this time, adhering to the current policy, no overnight parking at Calypso Park, Barclay Park, and or the tennis courts.
Happy Paws.
Or Happy Paws. I always do
That's
that.
the Phase 3 one.
Yes, okay, sorry. So none of those are allowed. We're going to update the past to just say if available, and then we'll start educating. We'll start a campaign, reaching out, sending out the video, and we'll do all of that, and then we'll revisit again.
And just to be clear, I might have misheard that. So you're saying no parking at Calypso and Happy Paws, but parking overflow is allowed at the clubhouse.
But not on the tennis court side, because there's a sign there that says no overnight parking. It's about
Clear as mud.
you have 12 spots available right now with the construction going on.
Well, what I would do then is make that the policy, and then if it becomes an issue, revisit it. And
If you right.
Does the tennis court, I know the tennis courts proper have lights. Are there lights on the tennis court parking lot?
No.
No, okay. I mean,
But there's street lights on the street.
Yeah,
right.
I don't
but like,
think that's a lighting
but
issue.
Happy Paws,
It's not a light issue.
Happy Paws is terribly dark.
Well, there's lights on the street there too.
Like one.
Well,
I think it's well.
I can't tell you where they're located, but there are street lights going down the street.
Mm-hmm.
At this time, with towing not going on currently, we do not have a parking problem with overflow. It's
yeah, well,
Because they're on the street.
so right. So right now, but it's going to be very quickly. But we'll start communicating. We'll get feedback from the residents. If we need help with a special or maybe the communications committee, we can revamp that and start working on it.
and maybe we should just run through the board members to see where people sit when it comes to overflow at the dog parks.
Sure.
Oh, now?
Yeah, it just, it's not something we're kind of assuming that we're all against it. I don't know where everyone stands, frankly.
Well, from what Al said, the problem we had before was it was new pavement and there were heavy trucks. Now the pavement's older and the heavy truck wouldn't cause the same problem that we had then, would it?
Well, we could still
Depends on
just
how
put
heavy
a
the truck.
sign
The
say,
signage says no commercial
say
trucks.
no trucks,
Right.
We could allow passenger cars and regular sized pickup trucks to.
But we've had people
Park there.
leave trailers with boats on them and budget rental trucks
Yes,
for a
moving
week.
trucks.
That's,
This is where it's not a private vehicle, a passenger car. Um,
We could, it may be something to where, as we're communicating, once we're set up and operating for towing, that only by the board's decision, if there is a situation where someone needs to be, let's just say someone right now is in the middle of the street sideways. You know, we need to have something in place to where if it's a safety issue or liability, that at least we have decided, are we ready to tow? If it's brought to the board reviews it first and then approves it. I would just most likely send it to you guys anyways and just say, hey, we're up and running, we have the signs, the permit's done, contract's done, everything, this car really is a liability. And then you guys can make that decision. In the meantime of...
The case-by-case thing scares me a bit, frankly. I don't want any argument of selective enforcement. I think we should set specific parameters, make them as objective as possible.
Okay.
If you're towing someone for being in the grass, is it 1 wheel, 2 wheels, 3 wheels? If you're talking about towing people that are sticking out, is it the curb? Is it beyond the curb? Just be as specific as possible, and then enforce it would be my 2 cents, but I don't want to speak on behalf of everybody.
I agree with that.
So back to the board opinions, did you guys want to go around? I can just tally. I won't even, no overnight parking at Calypso Park. Yes or no?
Personally, I'll jump in. I don't have an issue with the parking at the extra places. I think parking overnight or overflow parking at the clubhouse right now is really difficult because that's the place where we're constrained for parking. If anything, I prefer not to have it there and use the other ones where nobody's really there. And
with an advance pass, with an advance requested pass.
With the requested pass. But the other thing is residents are really good at ratting each other out. Like, if they go there to walk their dog and that same car is there every single day and they can't park because there's these cars that are just sitting there, it becomes an issue. I think we need to be able to address it at that point.
And when they put the camper trailer there.
Oh, yeah, all of that stuff. Yeah, there shouldn't be boats or trailers or any of that.
Absolutely not.
I don't think any of that should be there.
We need a towing company in place to address it, though. There's nothing we can do. Yeah. I mean, we are doing the stickering and everything, but we're not putting any type of bite to it, at all. Just barking. Yeah. And I think that the only way to resolve that would be to be prepared to start towing.
Right.
Well, half the parking lot at Calypso is now taken up with our storage trailers. So the last thing that we want to have happen is you pass all these parking pass out, and then someone goes to the dog park, can't find a place to park because the parking lot's full. And the same thing with the other dog park, and the same thing for the pickleball court and tennis courts.
And the pool.
These people want to come to the pool, they're parking there, and if the parking slot's full with all these overnight cars, I think the priority should be the amenity.
So where would you put the overnight parking cars? The cars
I don't think we have a lot right now. I don't think we have many spaces available, and I don't think we need to, inconvenience our residents that are wanting to use the amenities by having the lots full of parking.
Well, how many requests do you get a month or a week for overnight parking?
A couple a week sometimes.
So it's not
holidays.
Really
holidays
like spring break.
It's not
coming
realistic
up.
because we're not towing.
Holidays.
People here we're towing, they're going to be acutely aware that they need to move that car.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It'll skyrocket,
I just want to give the residents every chance to comply.
Right.
And, if you tell them, listen, there's overflow here, we've sent out 4 notices, these are the steps we've taken to inform you, it's very difficult for a resident
to argue they weren't informed.
Right.
Well, they'll still argue it, but
yeah, and they
to win the argument.
So.
But I can't tell you how much we need. We can proceed, and if you're getting more requests for parking passes, maybe we expand it.
I'm getting a lot of residents that are upset that towing hasn't taken place.
I hear the same.
That's the biggest thing, and I think that relying on the overflow parking. Let's just say, what type of liability if it's filled up with violators and they can't go park there, and now they become a violator because they tried to park there.
But they
relying
wouldn't. They wouldn't get a pass in that it's not a 1-off or a 2-off visit. It's some of these homes where there's 5 and 6
that's
cars.
It can't become somebody's personal parking lot.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
And that's where.
And that's
right
some
now
of what we're
we
seeing.
say we only allow every it's every like 30 days, every 60 days, unless it's during a holiday peak, and then we extend it to 7 days at a time.
So we give them a pass for 30 days, and they
No. You can only come get a
days.
pass every 30 days.
Gotcha. Okay.
For 2 days, 2 nights. The max
Okay.
is on there. It's written on there.
That
It's like
makes
48 hours.
But like over the holidays, we use the discretion. My in-laws are coming; they're going to be here for the week, right?
And there wasn't, and no one was complaining that the construction had not started. So
Okay.
we're good.
Give them a Waffle House coupon and tell them to go stay from 1 till 6 at the Waffle
Right, come
House.
back.
Listen, you
Come
got
back at
6
6.
hours. Go drive around.
Is it appropriate to call the question?
Yeah.
Well, there's no motion.
I know.
There's no
I'm using the
motion.
terminology, and let's move on.
All right.
So
Well, I think what you've been told is, let's proceed with getting the towing ready, but do your campaign about the
The
education first.
education, right?
that's the part we're at. We're done. We're ready to go with the towing. There's no waiting. Management has gotten all those, except for the signs that are being installed next week. So we will start the campaigning of educating residents, getting their feedback as any questions, and then we'll revisit.
Okay.
So did you say the towing wasn't going to be able to be started until the middle of?
That I don't.
March? Or is that based
I'm
on
not
how
going to
long
start
we
the
want
towing
a
until you
campaign?
guys decide. The board decides.
Okay, so we have to determine what's an acceptable amount of time for campaigning and educating before we start doing.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, can we at least do that? Can we say,
Make a
certain
motion.
motion for 3 weeks of education prior to enforcing towing?
Okay.
So from when the first notice goes out,
Time's counting.
21 days later.
That probably should be in the education too.
Yeah.
Effective
date.
Yeah.
a certain date,
Right.
towing will commence.
All right. So it's going to be a 3-week campaign, Melanie, is what you're saying,
Yep.
right?
And towing will commence immediately after.
Okay.
Is that your motion?
Yes, that's my motion.
All right. Is there a second?
I know Don wants to because he's ready to move on.
Don, is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Just
All right.
to end it.
Don, okay. Any further discussion? Al, you're all right with the parking?
The motion?
As long as they don't break my parking lots.
I know. I feel for you. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so again, the motion passes. There'll be a 3-week campaign, and then we'll start with the towing. I know many residents will be happy to hear that. Other residents will be a little nervous, but it is what it is. All right, thank you. All right, next on the agenda is
We did tennis, pickleball, so DR driveway. So the
the
Architecture Review Committee sent in to management asking that we present to the board a couple items that they would like changed on the design review. Those were sent. So on driveways, they're asking 3 words underline to be deleted. So the way it reads, I'm going to pull out of context, but driveways shall not extend beyond the corners of the garage and must be replaced with the same material to match existing pavers in both color and design. They would like it to read, driveways shall not extend beyond the corners of the garage and must be replaced with the same material to match existing pavers in color, period. So removing both and then and design. The ARC approval must be in place, and then the ARC approval must be in place before any work associated with the driveway, walkway construction begins. If any type of construction begins prior to the ARC approval, fines may be levied against the homeowners.
yeah, that language is standard, and that's in the design review
been
guidelines,
accepted.
right?
I so move.
Okay.
Is there a second?
One second.
All right, Melanie. Thank you.
Okay.
Discussion on the clarification with the pavers being of the same color. No discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, motion passes. Thank you.
All right, and next we have your invoices.
Invoice action. So this one is apparently in like 2018, the umbrellas at the pool. Here's what happened. We had a hurricane coming in. We went out to lower those huge fun umbrellas, or whatever the word they use, funbrella.
Not the playground umbrella, but the pool umbrella.
Right. Those really large ones, they have the mechanics to crank it down. If you crank it down, then you're saving the canvas. Whoever got the proposal in 2018, they only got it for the canvas. They didn't get it to fix the inside. So we're not able to crank it down properly when a hurricane comes. So we had to remove the hole and then leave the metal just flopping around. It was really, and it was not good. So they're made to crank down to protect them from the wind coming through, to catch up underneath. And so I think they spent around $3,500 just to do the canvases, but those have been roughed up because they've never been brought down, and the wind has just beat them up and beat them up and beat them up. So we just went ahead and got pricing just to see. We've been working on this since the hurricane we just got it back the end of December, the quote for this. So just wanted to bring it to the board's attention. Management did, and kind of put it out there. It is $7,156.55 for the ground sleeves, which is the tall containers, the anchor to fix the kits inside. We can get, I plan to get at least another bid or two. But is this something that's important to the board, and is it something that, I don't know if it's something in the reserves as far as the pool?
It's definitely a reserve item, and this should be proposed as a bar issue.
Okay, so we'll get another.
You need to look and see what's available for that line item in the reserve, and then you can make a proposal as to whether that fund is available to do that.
Mm-hmm. And is it just the frame kit? Yeah. Or is it the frame kit with the new canvas?
No, new canvas. You guys just got those in 2018.
Okay.
One's a little bit.
It's the hardware.
Already rough.
Okay.
It's the metal.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then the pole. There's like a lot of cranking pieces, moving, and everything like that. So they came out. They took a look at it. He tried to, fix it as best as he can, work with it, but it's a. They're not functioning. They're stripped from the inside, and they need to be taken apart. So
they take the canvas off and put them onto this new mechanics.
Right.
Okay.
Well, the estimate I see here expired on 12/31.
Yeah, we have to get new. Well, this is just, I wanted to see what.
Just an example.
Yeah, I had no idea, honestly. I just wanted to find out what it would cost, so that in the future we're prepared to be able. It was.
No, because it was
dangerous. The bars were hanging, and I lost sleep over it. And I was like, okay, this isn't good.
This is for two, right? Two.
Yes.
How many do we have?
One works. Three.
Okay.
You have
There's three total.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll work on that.
All right.
So the board's giving you direction to get additional
bids,
and then prepare a bar and bring it back.
Well, I'm also recommending you look in the reserve and see what the allocation available is.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I think that there was, I got it. That's right. I did take a look at it, but I don't have the numbers in front of me. That's lost in the paperwork. So.
Okay.
All right. Next one.
We can advance. All right. So next we have the levy of fines and suspension, and I think you have 2 gate strikes that you want to present.
Yes. Okay, so the Covenants Committee met, and there are 2 gate strikes that they recommend for approval. The first one is account number 13301. No, I'm sorry. Why is it repetitive?
Yeah, I just
It's
saw it.
13001 is the second one.
Oh,
Not repetitive.
gosh! Look at
What are the chances?
look at the guy with the numbers.
He's the numbers
catching it.
guy.
Jeez, I'm like,
You can't leave us.
okay, 13001. So 13301 for $100 gate strike fine, and then 13001 $100 gate strike fine. If the board wants to make a motion and approve those, management will get them fined.
All right, so the covenants recommended fines for these two cases with the two account numbers. All right, so Melanie moves, and is there a second?
I'll second.
Al, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, motion passes. Thank you.
The next is lake proposal. This was another one that management has been looking to get in front of the board. The lake committee had tests done on lake number 23, and we met with the lake company. They put a Schedule A together, so that way if a treatment, if Bill, you were there, Kathy, you were there, and Scott. So the lake committee, as well as Solitude Lake Management, and it's 2003-10 to treat this lake.
Can you explain to me what's specific about this one lake? And this is one of the lakes that's not been turned over by transition. And I just wondered, I'm surprised it's just one lake that's got an issue.
So they would have to go test all the other lakes. I don't want to speak to the lake company as far as, and unfortunately we had this meeting so far back, but I know that it was, do you remember? So essentially this one was having some type of flare-ups or something along those lines. This one stood out, that it was a lake that needed to be tested. So we had the testing done, and I can't tell you the exact. It's a lot of big words, but I can give it to you. What the recommendations are, what's the issue causing, as far as, and I want to say it might be related to. It's obviously for the benefit of the lake, the fish, you start with a little blossom of this, and then this affects this, and this erodes this, and this erodes. So it was something along those lines of, if we don't take care of this, we're going to have a bigger problem.
My question is, are we just addressing one lake just because it was brought to our attention, or is it something we need to evaluate? I'm just so surprised there's just one lake that needs, this particular treatment that others are not, and I'm also concerned that it's one of the lakes that hasn't gone through transition.
Scott he was all over this with us. He's really hands-on with it. So the best that I can do, I wanted to bring this in front of you guys, and I'll get you all the technicality and everything backing this up, because there's been extensive work. And we have a lot of lakes, and that lake committee and the lake company, they've stayed within budget. They have a very minimal budget. They really don't have much outside their monthly maintenance. So I've not seen them bring much to say, hey, you need to do this. Mm-hmm. And just to get the one testing done we had a big old committee done. And so this was the result. So
you can reach out to Scott too to find out.
Best of my memory, they were testing a lot of lakes, and this is the only one that had an issue.
Right. This is the one where the major fish kill occurred, and there was crazy algae bloom as a result of the fertilizer, the nitrogen, all of that.
Okay. So what I'll do is just provide a short summary to the entire board, knowing that this is something that's being recommended from the lake company as well as the lake committee. Okay? Let's see. And then solicitation for agenda items.
All right. Does anyone...
That was when I went and looked at
open forum, sorry. When we're there.
Does anyone move to add any additional agenda items? I know Ron wanted to speak. I'm sorry. Let's go, John.
I'd like to get a little follow-up. We had talked about the barrier arms on the gates not being lighted, and we were talking about the one gate that was bent. And, you know, it's been a couple of months, and this two barrier arms still aren't lighted, and this bent gate's still not fixed. And I just wondered where that stood.
I'll let you know. We did sign off on it, so I'll let you know what date they plan on actually doing the work. I can send that to you.
Which gate are you talking about? The Veterans Exit?
The Pine Island.
The veteran exit gate is bent, and then the veteran exit gate has no light, and one of the Pine Island entrance gates has no light.
Yeah.
And then we have fixed the Trafalgar right one and left one. So those are all lit good. So
But
those we had already approved.
I've been
and then,
in a couple of times the last couple of days, and the Trafalgar residence on the far right is not working. It's just standing.
That's correct. It did get hit. And then we had...
it was replaced.
So it was replaced, and they have to come out and reset it. They couldn't manually, through their computer, reset it. So it is in the process of them coming out.
The swing gate's working. It's the bar.
It's just the bar. And it wouldn't reset with us, so they're coming out to take a look at that.
And then I'd also like to mention the one time that I saw both exit gates blocked at Veterans and you couldn't get out. I think when an issue like that takes place, you need to open the gate rather than block the gate.
Correct. And it takes a process to get for them to notify us depending on when it is. And then
But
we have to
I
call.
don't think closing that and two cones in front of both exit gates is a good idea. You know, I think,
Agreed.
I think you need to open the gate if you need neither one functioning so people can get out.
Agreed. You may temporarily see cones in front of it until that happens.
But just one. But, I mean, you can open them right away.
Well, sometimes you put the cones to let everyone know, don't just sit at the gate.
Well, you can't do it to both gates. You need to have, if you have a gate that's not operational, then you need to manually open the gate and manually put the bar up.
Correct.
So that you can get out.
Yes.
Not keep it closed. With the
Yes,
front.
I totally agree with you.
Right.
I have a question. We were talking about updating the signs for the towing. Is there any plan for just sign review at all the gates? Like, there's so many. There's a lot of different signs at every gate that it's it's like neighborhood watch. You can be towed. Police can arrest you. You can be trespassed. Like
Residents only.
Residents only. Like there's just a lot of different types of signs as well. Like I don't know if there's any recommendation or anything like what other communities might potentially how they address.
Sure, it'd be nice to streamline these and maybe do an evaluation whether we can upgrade our signage. It does look a bit like Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
And Vera has their
these towing
standard.
signs usually show up, and they're some of the rattiest looking ones you have out there.
There's
so
just
let's
a
make
lot of
sure that doesn't
different
happen
ones.
when they come.
Yeah.
They'll be in code compliant. They have City of Cape Coral has a permitting requirement for the
Yeah,
towing
I know, but
signs.
what kind of posts you're putting them on, and not just stuck in the ground?
Yeah, and even just more like, welcome to Sandoval, community rules. You can be trespassed, you can be this, you can be that. Like, is there some way we could make it a little nicer?
Okay.
Not high on the list, but
No, it's
thinking
a
about
great
signs
idea,
and
and to make it streamlined, the signage is a great idea.
The other real quick thing, and it doesn't really relate to towing, I think it's more around the ARC review or I guess just in general. I've heard people say that in the driveways when you're parking, that the cars cannot extend past the driveway if your side of the house has a sidewalk.
So initially, that's the way it said. This one is, and I think we've had discussion on this one because it said something about fairways and walkways, something along those lines blocking it. So the situation is the driveway and then there's the sidewalk. So is it I'd have to pull up but I know what you're talking about, and it's the reason it would even be a topic is if you have kids walking, adults walking, people walking, and the car's blocking the sidewalk, they have to go around into the street. Would be the only reason why. But then on the other end, it's not fair that one driveway is all pavers and then you have the sidewalk, which totally cuts your parking option. So,
and it is still your driveway, right?
And it's still your driveway.
It's still coming down.
Right.
So
right.
just trying to educate people that you have
we would not
only park in your driveway, but pull up far enough in your driveway.
That's an important distinction. If people are being towed from having four wheels in their driveway.
And I don't think they'd be towed, but I don't know if that's part of violations. I've heard
initially, and that's what I think it was initially, and it's a if let's just say this, if we're erring on, I mean, I'm not going to pursue that when there's a lot more other going on. So if that is the case, then and residents have had something, violation, then let me know.
Okay.
And we'll look into it and address it. But it's a technical thing that I don't think is meant for the way that it's interpreted by some.
Okay.
Is
right. But we can clarify it in the education campaign.
Okay.
Is what I would recommend. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah.
That was all I had.
No, it's a great question. And
okay, Al, anything for the greater good? Bill? Ron, you want to say a few words?
Yeah, I'll try to make it quick. I wrote a couple of things, but I'll try to shorten it.
While you were sitting there?
No, I am going to shorten this a lot, though. In addition to Bill, I too would like to thank the 600 plus residents who voted for me and all the other residents who have supported me during the past 2 years. Regardless of who voted for me, I tried to serve the community as a whole. I attended every board meeting, every special session, every workshop. My platform was focused on one word: transparency. In order to effectuate real change in the interest of transparency, the following was done. We required up-to-date monthly financials to be provided to the community at every board meeting, prior to every board meeting. Previously, there were periods of 2 months or more when there were no financials. We now require monthly board meetings. Previously, months went by with no board meetings. We require notice of monthly board meetings to be set out for the entire year in advance to help residents ensure attendance. We now require monthly financials for every account, including CenturyLink, to ensure every resident knows exactly how every dollar is spent. Previously, monthly financial reports were not provided for the CenturyLink account at all. We passed a resolution that requires a board to vote in front of the community every time reserve dollars are spent. We passed a resolution that requires a board vote in front of the community every time money is taken from the fund balance to cover an over-budget item. As of March 31st, 2021, we will require all future monies from CenturyLink to go to the fund balance and thus require a vote to utilize. We now require an RFP process with a minimum of 3 bids for significant contracts. We have implemented a requirement that all board and committee members sign a conflict of interest policy that ensures they are not receiving any direct or indirect benefit. We now require a yearly budget to be provided to the community a minimum of 30 days out. We've had an open workshop for the first time in history the past 2 years. We review the budget, address questions. These workshops are often difficult and messy, but extremely necessary for the community. This was never done previously. We've disclosed the full clubhouse expansion budget. We've made sure residents could ask any questions at the beginning of board meetings and are allowed to comment at the end of board meetings. This ensures community involvement and that the board is forced to answer tough questions. You will notice that all the actions above are designed to take the decision-making out of the backroom non-quorum meetings and put them in front of you, the residents. That is not an accident. This is what we mean by transparency. I'd also like to add a couple comments to the future board members. As a board member, you will be responsible for close to $500 million in property value. That's correct, $500 million. Many residents' primary savings and ability to retire is placed in the equity of their homes. Protection of that value is your fiduciary responsibility. You do not get to simply pick and choose what rules you want to enforce. If you want to change the rules, do it after community input and in front of the community. And no one should be serving on this board for what they can get themselves or their friends. Rather, it should be what you can do for Sandoval as a whole. I've lived by this rule for the past 2 years. It should not be what management company is malleable. Rather, it should be who will treat the community as a whole evenly, fairly, and consistently. This sometimes means standing up against developers. This board was confronted with a situation when a developer told us they were breaking ground in 3 months, and they had the support of Sandoval. We still fought on. We used the 3 variances that they wanted to get approved, and we objected. We fought hard. It came down to those objections, and we worked together with the community. And as you all know, we do not have wooden townhomes in our Calypso Lake. This also means not hiring friends and refusing to disclose. This also means no 1 or 2 board members should be speaking for the entire board. Every board member's voice is equal, and each board member has a responsibility to speak up. If a board member is afraid to speak up, they should step down. My family chose to live here because of the infrastructure. I truly believe there is no place in Cape Coral like Sandoval. Unfortunately, my family wanted to leave in 2017 because of the divisiveness, the lack of transparency, the wheeling and dealing, the catering to a few rather than the whole, the failure to treat everyone as the same, failure to enforce rules, maintain infrastructure. Rather than leave, I decided to fight. I hope this board will continue to fight and put Sandoval as a whole first. I'm comfortable where we're at and hopeful for where we are going. Finally, I hope residents look very closely at the qualifications prior to voting and realize the future of this community is in the hands of a few. Please make your decisions wisely. I appreciate working with everyone on this board, and I thank the residents of Sandoval for having their faith in me. Thank you, Casey, and I wish you all the best.
Hear, hear. Thank you. You've done a lot. Appreciate all the hard work you've done.
Indeed, indeed. All right. Is there...
I move we adjourn.
All right. I second. Motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And we'll move now to the open forum. We have a couple comments for the open forum.
So, sir, I think I was going to address Jerry Kearns in regards to the gate strikes. He had mentioned
right.
several hundred strikes over a series of months. And just to mention, actually, November was our lowest. We tracked it, and it was only maybe 6 to 8 gate strikes. And then we have had a decline. We had a little bit of a spike in January, but this month has actually been better. So it's nowhere in that level, so that's really good. But just with the violations, I know it's frustrating. Some of the exit gates don't have cameras on them as far as tag readers go. So we just wanted to reiterate that. And we've been doing a good job as consistently each Cabinets Committee hearing. In the past meetings, we've been able to find gate strike fines for at least a few out of those. They've been able to connect them, say out of the 6 to 8, we're able to connect maybe 2 to 3 out of those. So I don't think it's, I think that there's definitely some momentum that's being brought here to the fining of the gate strikes. So thank you, Jerry, for sending that in. And then, so this is from Craig Snyder. Casey, please explain the proper protocol to residents regarding placing appliances, televisions, hot water heaters, etc. When should residents do this, and when can they expect them to be picked up? It appears items are being placed curbside and not being picked up for days. This is an eyesore, nuisance, and liability concern. Your help in educating everyone is greatly appreciated. We have sent out a couple communications in regards to Waste Pros and what they tell us what their schedule is. So that's what we can only communicate is what they tell us the schedule will be. And we, just Thursday AM, they pick up the regular trash. Friday is bulk. However, appliances are not considered bulk. They are considered a different type of request, so that each resident has to phone in, put a request for pickup. They'll give you a date and time that they're supposed to pick it up. If they don't show up, which most of the time they don't show up, is what we're finding out, you will have to bring that appliance back inside the garage or your home. Or you also have the option to tote it off property, donate it, recycle it, drop it off at a facility of some sort, or you can call a used appliance company and have them pick it up, something along those lines. But the bottom line is we will send a violation letter immediately for those appliances that sit out, because it is an eyesore, a nuisance, a liability concern. And at the end of the day, it is the resident's responsibility, and unfortunately, as frustrating as it is, we see the frustration and we hear the frustration, but you have to keep at it with Waste Pros and keep at them to get some accountability there. So thank you.
I have a question. Isn't Waste Pro a city vendor? I mean, they're the one, they have a city contract. Should we, as a community, communicate our displeasure to our Congress representative that they're not functioning well?
I don't know why residents wouldn't.
Well, I mean, can't we as a community?
I don't know why residents wouldn't. I mean, you guys are a community. Everyone can pick up the phone and call.
Yeah, but you're much more powerful if you got 1,425 people that you're saying that you're representing, and we've got 5 or 6 appliances that are all over the place. Not much more effective than saying.
I think we all should.
So what do you? I guess give me a visual. What are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking that there needs to be a letter.
We represent 1,425 homes.
Exactly.
So a
It's
letter.
been a consistent pattern that we've seen. I mean, I could help draft
In
it.
recent times.
So finding the head up and the city, and then a letter. Okay, thank you. I just was looking for clarity.
And residents should
That would be
also.
the only place that they would be accountable to.
Right. It is ridiculous and it's frustrating. I'm sure for residents having to worry about bringing back an appliance.
And we've had to fight to get them to come back out and clean up the streets and bring sweepers because
broken glass.
they leave glass time after time. We have staff trying to pick it. It's impossible.
And if they spill hydraulic fluid, it's their responsibility to come and clean that up also.
Yeah, we stay on
We need to make
them.
sure security and our deed restriction person is identifying those areas and communicating them because it's dangerous.
I almost think that communications need to be, my attorney friend told me it's not in writing, doesn't happen.
That's true.
That, in writing to Waste Pro with a CC to the city.
Right. I would do it the opposite way, to the city with a CC to Waste Pro.
Either way.
But there's been, I know the office has had regular dialogue with Waste Pro over the last couple of months.
I have one incident. I have a water heater that's been wrong 4 weeks.
It's ridiculous.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
And it wasn't just set out there. It was called the first place, and I was given the date it was going to be picked up. It wasn't. The following week, there's been about 5 or 6 calls on that one water heater.
Right.
And we're still in the dry. It's still
Right.
not at the street, but it will be tonight.
But with
I understand Don's point about the Sandoval carries more weight than a bunch of individuals, but ultimately, unless I misunderstand this is a relationship between the homeowner taxpayer and the city.
Correct.
And the city's vendor. Sandoval really has no standing in this.
right.
Yeah, so and that's a great point because what can happen, we're going to go, the association's going to write a letter and now everyone's going to be calling. They didn't pick up mine again, they're emailing and they're calling.
It's a very important distinction that it's not our responsibility. In fact, we should not be calling on it on behalf of individual ownership from a liability.
We are not.
But that's separate and apart from using collectively our residents as we represent them to say, hey, this is an issue in our community that we need to address. So I don't think, as long as we don't conflate those issues and residents don't misunderstand what we're doing, I think it's fair game to let them know this is a problem in this community and we're being ignored.
And list out. Okay.
Yeah. The next step is you're going to get 1,425 individual letters.
Exactly.
Yes, right.
Okay, next.
Ruthie wrote in, Casey, I've been a resident of Sandoval for over 10 years. We purchased our homes because Sandoval is or was a social community. Why has the position of activities director been eliminated? This is a decision that affects 1,500 homes in some way. We were sold on the social aspect of this community. This decision has nothing to do with COVID-19. Other communities continue to have social gatherings. This is a concern for many. As I addressed in the management report, this is absolutely incorrect. Wherever the information you got it, Ruthie, is incorrect. We absolutely, with the transition with First Service Residential, we had to go through the whole posting the ad properly and going through I've been interviewing candidates, and I've been at it seeking referrals. I've gotten great recommendations from First Service Residential. So it's been in the works. Trust me, anybody missing from staff is extra weight that we already don't want to do. So we're excited to get in the new website, with just feedback and just getting life into that area is something that the board, I know, hasn't
we could have
changed.
saved a significant amount of money by holding off hiring a social director until after the expansion, but we proactively encouraged to have the social director come. Frankly, I believe they're starting next month.
On the 8th.
On the 8th. And there's never been a discussion at any point that I've been involved with about eliminating the social director position.
And just to be clear, too, the social director or the lifestyles director that we had previously left on her own. That position was never eliminated. It was never intended to be eliminated. She left the position and vacated.
The position became vacant, so that position stayed vacant. We never changed anything on the budget to eliminate anything. We never changed anything at all whatsoever. So, no, it's something that, we're excited. I think she's excited for the community. She's excited for the new construction and all that. So, we're excited. Thank you, Ricky.
And she'll play a key role with working with the First Service IT people on the event side of the website.
Right.
With the protocols now where you can RSVP and you can buy tickets. And
it'll be amazing with the clubhouse expansion and being able to have the extra space and do a
we just give her time to acclimate. Right now she doesn't even have an office. It'll be a table, a desk if we can pull one out. So
it's not going to be much bigger once she gets in.
Hey, activities is an active job, so it's not sitting and doing fun paperwork.
And then something I think just publicly state that we do have a budget for furnishings in the new building, and I think that's something that I would think she would be actively involved with, deciding what we need.
I think that as far as furnishing, she's not an interior decorator, so what do you mean as far as furnishing?
We're talking about furnishings, not pictures. We're talking about, tables and chairs and things that, that's the furnishings that we're talking about.
How we can utilize her, we'll work with you and your committee. I know that's important. So, and it's important for us. So, where she can be insight and helpful.
You can't have a party unless you've got the party tools. So that's what we're talking about.
Great, excellent.
Right. And one more.
John Bianco and Casey, the following are concerns I feel are most important and would be addressed. The first one, I'll read it. It came in. It's not pertaining directly to inside of our community. We seriously need to investigate what we can do in having the Veterans Parkway speed limit between Surfside and Sandoval main entrance from 55 p.m. to 45 p.m. Or miles per hour. Lordy, that was me with the megabytes and bits and whatever last night. I don't even know what I'm saying. Okay, the limit is a serious concern of the residents in both directions. They reduced the limit to 45 miles per hour, approaching the Veterans Parkway and Pine Island Road traffic signal. So that first one, John, I know that's a state. We looked into getting signs. That is something that the Department of Transportation would handle, and I would encourage, if these are things that the residents, please contact them, and management would be happy to try to send an email out if we can get a Department of Transportation message to them of the concerns there. We'll absolutely relay that. The Veterans Main Gate Center Island is not sufficiently lighted. You can barely see it at night, especially coming eastbound since the vehicle headlights do not light it. The left turn lane into the main entrance is also very poorly marked when it's dark. I ride a bike in the community, and it's more hazardous than riding outside the community. A very large number of residents fail to make stops, fail to signal, rarely yield to cyclists, and do not observe the speed limit. And John, what I'll do is I'll ask the risk management committee to take a look at these areas and give us some feedback, and then we'll go from there. Thank you very much. And that's all I had.
All right. That concludes the open forum. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Scott.
Aren't you going to miss us?
We're gonna miss you.
I'll watch you on
Good night, everybody. Thank you.